So hello everyone again. This is lecture 2 part 2 of dual nature of radiation and matter. Let's start the previous discussion of experimental study of photoelectric effect today. A little bit is required, 2-3 points are being dealt with to be discussed, and then we can start with the first point, that is intensity of radiation. What happens when we try to change the intensity of radiation in the photoelectric effect. Okay. So let's start our discussion. I am Sameer Lavankar. Okay. So course outline for you first of all. So first right now we are on the fourth point, that is experimental study of photoelectric effect. In the previous discussions, in the first point of introduction, we started with the introduction in which we understood the complete concept of why we are studying this complete concept, what was the history behind dual nature of radiation and matter, about different scientists. We tried to understand about different scientists, what was the complete era in which this complete procedure started and all. In the second point of electron emission, we understood why, how is the electron being emitted, where are these electrons being resided upon, what is that complete workout potential, what is the threshold frequency, etc. is being explained in this electron emission part. Then the third point of photoelectric effect, we tried to understand two different experiments, one was due to Hertz and one was due to Wolowitz. In which we understood the complete concept of what is the phenomena of photoelectric effect, as in what is happening when the complete ultraviolet light, or let us say visible light, is being irradiated and then the electrons are being emitted. Please remember, the electrons are being emitted or irradiated on the emitter plate, and then in the complete circuit loop this another plate is called as a collector plate. In the last class, we started with the experimental study of photoelectric effect. We tried to understand what is being happening here, and then 4 basic factors which we need to vary and understand the complete concept is being dealt now in the further discussions. Okay. So let me start our discussion directly about the experimental study. 2-3 points are being left, and then we can start with the first point. So experimental study of photoelectric effect. Okay. So till this point we have understood that these can be the 3-4 variations. So first variation is the experimental arrangement, that is intensity of radiation. Second is the frequency of incident radiation. Third is the potential difference between the plates A and C, and fourth is the nature of the material of plate C. Okay. Let us move on. So now light of different frequencies can be used by putting appropriate colored filter or colored glass in the path of light glass falling on the emitter plate C. Okay. So light of different frequencies can be used. So basically that can be, we will try to vary when we will try to vary the frequency of the incident radiation. Okay. Similarly, the intensity of the light is varied by changing the distance of the light source from the emitter. Okay. So if this thing can be changed from this position, let us say we try to put it here, we try to put it here, etc., it can be varied. Okay. So these were the only 2 points which I need to explain. Let us move on with the first point now. Okay. So what we understood, that if we need to vary the intensity, what we try to do, we try to change the distance of the light source from the emitter. Emitter here refers to the emitter plate. Okay. And second is the light of different frequencies can be used by putting appropriate colored filter or colored glass in the path of light falling on the emitter C. Okay. So that in that frequency, that in that sequence we can change the frequency. Okay. Now next thing, so first is effect of intensity of light on photocurrent. Okay, so first point is we try to change the intensity of light, and let us see what happens with the change in the intensity of light on the emission of photoelectrons and so on, or basically on the phenomena of photoelectric effect. Okay. So first point is the collector plate A is maintained, this is the collector plate A is maintained at a positive potential with respect to emitter C, quite evident, and that is why only the electrons are being pushed from the, let us say, left to right here. Okay. So the collector plate A is maintained at a positive potential with respect to emitter C, so that the electrons ejected from C are attracted towards collector A. Fine. Okay. Next thing is, keeping the frequency of the incident radiation and the accelerating potential fixed, the intensity of light is varied and the resulting photoelectric current is being measured each time. So this line just says that only and only intensity of light is being varied upon, and rest all thing, the frequency, the accelerating potential, etc., is being kept constant. Okay. And we are trying to find out the dependence of intensity of light on the photoelectric current. What is photoelectric current? The current being produced in the circuit due to the phenomena of photoelectric effect is called as photoelectric current. Okay. Now what was being found? It was found that the photocurrent increases linearly with intensity of incident light as shown graphically in the figure below. So as you can see, the complete graph is linear, that is, with the increase, with the change in the intensity of light, the photoelectric current increases. Okay. With the change in the intensity of light, the photoelectric current increases. So it is found that the photocurrent increases linearly with intensity of incident light as shown graphically in the figure below. Okay. The photocurrent is directly proportional to the number of photoelectrons emitted per second. Okay. So this is just This is just to explain what is the basic proportion of what is the basic ratio of what the photo current is being dependent upon. Okay. So, just to explain that, it is saying that photo current, let me write it as I is directly proportional to number of photo electrons emitted per second. So, let us say I write N upon T. Fine. So, this is one of the conclusions we got till now. This implies that the number of photo electrons emitted per second is directly proportional to the intensity of incident radiation. Why? Because from this term concept here. So, basically this can directly be said that the number of, so N by T now can be said to be directly proportional to intensity. Fine. So, this I may write it as current, so that there is no confusion between I of intensity and I of current. So, photo current is directly proportional to the number of photo electrons emitted per second, and next is that this implies that the number of photo electrons emitted per second is directly proportional to the intensity of incident radiation. Okay. Let us move on then. Now, we first keep the plate A at some positive accelerating potential with respect to the plate C. Okay. For now, accelerating potential can be understood as potential only. Let us not go into the concept of accelerating. If the thing persists, I will try to explain it very clearly. For now, you can understand it as potential only. Okay. So, we first keep the plate A at some positive accelerating potential with respect to plate C. Okay. So, it is being kept at some higher potential difference and a positive potential difference. So, higher here means magnitude also positively. Okay. And illuminate the plate C with light of fixed frequency. Please remember, light of fixed frequency is being used. Okay. So, and illuminate the plate C, it is being illuminated with light of fixed frequency. Okay. Fixed frequency as in nu and fixed intensity I1. So, till now there is no change even in the intensity. Okay. Only that intensity is being called about by denoting it by subscript 1. Okay. Next is we next vary the positive potential of plate A gradually and measure the resulting photocurrent each time. Okay. So, we next vary the positive potential of plate A gradually. So, now what we try to do, we try to change the potential, we try to change, even I try to decrease the potential, or let us say we try to increase the potential such that we can understand or we can relate this potential with the current here. Okay. So, till now what is happening here, first of all you should remember, let me go very slowly. Okay. The incident light happening on the emitter plate C has a intensity of I1 and the fixed frequency of nu. Okay. Now, the collector plate A is being kept at a higher accelerating potential with respect to plate C, and please remember it is positive also. Okay. And that is why the electrons are being emitted like this. Okay. Let us move on with the further discussions now. Now, it is found that the photoelectric current increases with the increase in the accelerating potential, positive potential. Okay. What does it try to say? That even if we try to change this relative potential more and more, we try to make it more and more positive, then that leads to the current also being increased simultaneously in a linear sequence, Okay. So, it is found that the photoelectric current increases with the increase in the accelerating potential. At some stage, for a certain positive potential of plate A, all the emitted electrons are collected by the plate A and the photoelectric current becomes maximum or saturates. Okay. So, what happens, there is a potential which is, let us say we not even, let us say by V only at this point. At that potential, for what we try to do, so what is the complete procedure? Let us say there is some voltage V1, we try to increase it to, let us say, voltage V2, then V3, then V4. At this point V1, V2, V3, V4, we are getting the currents as I1, I2, I3, I4. Okay. So, what is happening is at some certain positive potential, there is some certain potential at which the amount of electrons collected by the plate are becoming saturated. Okay. And what happens is this current becomes maximum. After this, if we try to increase the potential, there is no change in the current. Okay. If we increase the accelerating potential of plate A further, photoelectric current does not increase. Okay. So, that value is I4 only. So, this I4 becomes max. This V4 can go to V5 also, but this V5 will also have I4 current only. Okay. This maximum value of photoelectric current is called as the saturation current. Okay. So, a new thing has been derived now, a new thing has been formulated. This thing is called as saturation current. Okay. So, this maximum value of photoelectric current is called as saturation current. Now, what is the saturation current? This saturation current corresponds to the case when all the photoelectrons emitted by the emitter plate C reach the collector plate A. Fine. So, just what is happening is everything has been the complete data or the complete package of electrons which the emitter plate was happening is being transferred to the emitter plate A. Okay. So, saturation current corresponds to the case when all the photoelectrons emitted by the emitter plate C reach the collector plate A. We now apply negative or retarding potential to the plate A with respect to the plate C and make it increasingly negative gradually. Okay. How we try to change this? By using a commutator, because what is the use of commutator? Commutator reverses the polarity. Okay. So, now what we try to do? We just try to decrease the value of potential here. Okay. So, till now we were increasing, now we are trying to decrease. Okay. Now, when the polarity is reversed, the electrons are repelled and only the most energetic electrons are able to reach the collector A. Okay. Because now the attractive forces won't come into play more, the energy of the electron residing inside itself comes into picture. Now, the energy which the electron residing, if it has a very high energy, then it tries to let us say destroy the repulsive force and then move on and go to the collector. But it does, if it does not have that sufficient amount of energy to move from point A to point B, then it is being impacted near the metal surface only. Okay, that thing is only been explained here. Okay. So, when the polarity is reversed, the electrons are repelled and only the most energetic electrons are able to reach the collector A. Okay. Only sometimes some get repelled only, but some have such energy such that it goes to the collector A. Okay. The photocurrent is found to decrease rapidly until it drops to 0 at a certain sharply defined critical value of the negative potential V0 on the plate A. Okay. The photocurrent is found to decrease rapidly until it drops to 0 at a certain sharply defined critical value of the negative potential V0 on the plate A. What is this potential V0? For a particular frequency of incident radiation. Please remember, in the complete experimental analysis of these two slides, we have not changed the value of frequency anywhere. Okay. So, for a particular frequency of incident radiation, the minimum negative retarding potential, please remember the minimum negative, there is no use of any positive potential here, this is only about negative potential. Okay. So, the minimum negative retarding potential V0 given to the plate A for which the photocurrent stops or becomes 0 is called as the cutoff or the stopping potential. Okay. So, till in these 2 points, what we understood is first of all till this complete concept of effect of potential on the photoelectric current, what we are trying to do, we are just trying to vary the potential either toward the positive end or towards the negative end. What all things are constant? The intensity is constant, the frequency is constant. Now, what we try to do, first we try to increase, first of all the relative proportion of the potential was that A was at the positive end and C was at the negative end. We try to increase the potential, what we found that at some potential difference V, there the amount of current was being saturated or maximum. That current was called as saturation current. Now, in the reverse polarity condition, when we try to decrease it, when we are trying to decrease, we got a value of minimum negative potential V0 such that the amount of photocurrent which is passing through this complete value of this complete glass tube was 0. That value of potential was called as cutoff or stopping potential. Okay. Why was there no electron being, why was there is no passage of current? Why? Because the amount of power, that minimum potential power was such high that even the maximum energy of the electrons were not being able to go past or destroy that repulsive forces. Okay. Everything was being repelled apart and hence there was no passage of current. Because why was there no passage of current? Because the amount of charges being flowing from, let us say, point A to point B in some time t was 0. That is why the current is 0. Okay. So, in the positive sequence we understood about saturation current, in the negative sequence we understood about cutoff potential and stopping potential. Okay. So, this was the complete analysis. Let us move on. Now, the interpretation of the observation in terms of photoelectrons is straightforward. Okay. All the photoelectrons emitted from the metal do not have the same energy, very evident. Everything will have the same energy, everything will have different energy, everything will have different energy. Photoelectric current is 0 and that is why the concept is coming na, ki some electrons will have the power so that they can be repelled apart and some will have the power so that they can destroy the repulsive force and go towards the collector plate. Okay. So, photoelectric current is 0 when the stopping potential is sufficient to repel even the most energetic photoelectrons. with the maximum kinetic energy, so that K max is equal to EV naught. So, this is the energy being talked about the electrons. Okay. So, when the photoelectric current is 0, when the maximum energy of the maximum strong electron is not even such that it can destroy the repulsive forces due to the negative potential. Okay. So, that thing is being only explained here. So, photoelectric current is 0 when the stopping potential is sufficient to repel even the most energetic photoelectrons with the maximum kinetic energy K max, so that K max is equal to EV naught. Okay. We can now repeat the experiment with incident radiation of the same frequency. Please remember, the frequency is even same now, but of higher intensity, I2 and I3, where I3 is greater than I2 is greater than I1. How we try to change the intensity? We just change the position of the source, distance of the source from the emitter plate C. Okay. So, we basically changed and found out 3 different intensities such that I3 is greater than I2 is greater than I1. We note that the saturation currents are now found to be at higher values. Okay. How was saturation current being calculated? Saturation current was being calculated by increasing the potential difference, such that we found a potential difference at which even after increasing that potential in the positive direction, the current is being same, current is being constant. That current is called as saturation current. But they are saying that this saturation current also is being changed with the increase in intensity. The saturation current also gets varied. It increases in this sequence. This shows that more electrons are being emitted per second proportional to the intensity of incident radiation. So, this was the basic sequence only. As the intensity is increasing, the amount of photo electrons are being emitted per second increases, and hence the value of saturation current also increases. Okay. Next thing is same thing only. So, this is the diagram being explained here. Please look over here very carefully. So, as you can see that for all the intensities, even with the increase in intensity, as you can see with the collector plate potential, for a greater intensity, for the light with greater intensity, the photoelectric current is increasing. This is the first what we can say conclusion from this complete discussion. And second discussion is that when we try to decrease the potential, when we go towards the negative direction, you can see each of these graphs are being intersecting at a single point only. This single point is called the stopping potential. So, these are the 2 conclusions. So, let me iterate, everything is written that only here, but the stopping potential remains the same. So, as you can see, the stopping potential remains the same as that for the incident radiation of intensity I1. So, it does not depend upon the intensity of incident radiation, the stopping potential is always constant, as shown graphically in the figure below. Okay. Thus, for a given frequency of the incident radiation, the stopping potential is independent of its intensity. Okay, the stopping potential does not depend upon the frequency. Sorry, does not depend upon the intensity. This stopping potential does not depend upon the intensity. I am very sorry. The stopping potential does not depend upon the intensity. As you can see, I1, I2, I3 is being varied. The frequency is being kept constant here. So, we does not know till now what is the effect of this stopping potential on frequency. In other words, the maximum kinetic energy of photoelectrons depends on the light source and the emitter plate material, but is independent of intensity of incident radiation. So, that line is written that kinetic energy depends upon the light source and emitter plate, but it does not depend upon the intensity of incident radiation, it is independent of that. Okay. So, that was the complete discussion of the first point. In the next lecture, I will start with the effect of frequency. So, let me stop it here only. In this discussion, we concluded the complete effect of potential on the photoelectric current. Okay. So, let me stop it here only. Thank you so much.